May 9, 2019, Mount Salak, Indonesia. A gleaming Russian-built Sukhoi superjet screams toward a mountainside at over 300 miles per hour, carrying 45 souls who believe they're on a routine demonstration flight. In exactly 90 seconds, Russia's billion-dollar dream of dethroning Boeing will shatter against volcanic rock. But the real destruction won't happen in the jungle. It'll happen in boardrooms across 3 continents, where every airline executive watching will make the same devastating decision. Chapter 1. The Ghost Plane. The Ghost Plane's final moments unfolded with terrifying precision. Flight 9570 departed Jakarta's Halim Perdanakusuma Airport at 2:14 p.m., carrying 8 crew and 37 passengers, airline executives, journalists, potential buyers. This wasn't a commercial route. This was a demonstration flight designed to showcase Russian engineering excellence to Indonesia's aviation market. Captain Alexander Yabloncev requested permission to descend. Air traffic control approved. Then nothing. Complete radio silence. The superjet had vanished into Mount Salak's cloud-covered peaks at over 6,000 feet. Search teams found the wreckage the next day, scattered across a near-vertical cliff face. No survivors. The brand-new aircraft, registration RA97004, delivered just months earlier, had flown directly into terrain. But here's what investigators discovered. The collision avoidance system had screamed warnings for 19 seconds. 19 seconds of alarms blaring in the cockpit. The crew never responded. They disabled crucial safety alerts to reduce cockpit noise during the demonstration. Russia's flagship aircraft, built to challenge Boeing's supremacy, had killed potential customers on a sales flight. The symbolism was devastating. This disaster would haunt the superjet program forever, a prophecy written in wreckage and silence. Chapter 2. David versus Goliath. This David versus Goliath battle began in the ruins of the Soviet Union's collapse. Rewind to the 1990s. Russia's aviation industry, once the pride of communist engineering, was hemorrhaging. The country that had built the Tupolev Tu-144 supersonic jet, that had pioneered swept-wing design, was now buying Boeing 737s like everyone else. The humiliation cut deep. Aeroflot, Russia's flagship carrier, had become a Boeing showroom. Domestic manufacturers were producing exactly 0 competitive commercial aircraft. The regional jet market, planes seating 70 to 100 passengers, was completely dominated by Canadian Bombardier and Brazilian Embraer. Boeing and Airbus didn't even bother competing there. Too small, too unprofitable. But Moscow saw an opening, a gap in the armor. In 2001, the Kremlin authorized the superjet program through Sukhoi, a company legendary for military fighters, not passenger planes. The mission: build a regional jet that could compete globally, reclaim Russia's aviation legacy, break the Western stranglehold. The ambition was staggering. Russia would design a modern, fuel-efficient regional jet from scratch. They'd target the 95-seat market, perfect for regional routes across Russia's vast territory and developing markets worldwide. They'd price it aggressively below Western competitors. And here's the masterstroke. They'd partner with Western suppliers for critical systems. Engines from PowerJet, a French-Russian joint venture. Avionics from Thales. Landing gear from Messier Bugatti Doughty. Flight controls from Liebherr. Russia would provide the airframe, the assembly, the design integration. The West would provide the technology Russia couldn't match yet. On paper, brilliant. A hybrid approach combining Soviet manufacturing capacity with Western technological sophistication. By 2007, the prototype rolled out. Sleek, modern, genuinely competitive. Test flights exceeded expectations. Orders started flowing. 270 aircraft from multiple countries. The superjet wasn't just Russia's hope. It looked like Russia's redemption. The underdog was rising. Moscow's aerospace engineers dared to dream again. Chapter 3. The Trojan Horse. The Trojan Horse entered Russia disguised as partnership. Those Western suppliers weren't just contributing components, they were embedding dependencies into every critical system of the superjet. Moscow didn't see the trap being set. Behold the partnership portfolio: PowerJet's SAM-146 engines, the aircraft's literal heartbeat; Thales avionics controlling navigation and flight management; Honeywell auxiliary power units; Messier Bugatti Doughty landing gear; Goodrich engine nacelles; Liebherr flight control systems; Parker hydraulics. Even the cockpit displays came from Rockwell Collins. The numbers tell a devastating story. 75% of the Superjet's critical components originated from Western manufacturers. 75%. Russia was assembling an aircraft, not building one. But here's what made no sense. Moscow celebrated these partnerships as proof of international acceptance. State media trumpeted Russia's return to global aviation markets. Sukhoi executives posed for photographs with French and American counterparts. The message was clear. Russia had rejoined the elite club of aircraft manufacturers. The deception ran deeper. Every Western partnership came with strings attached: supply chain control, maintenance networks, certification requirements, spare parts, logistics. Russia was creating an aircraft that couldn't survive without continuous Western cooperation. And nobody in Moscow was asking the critical question: what happens when cooperation ends? By 2011, the Superjet entered commercial service with Aeroflot. Orders climbed to over 300 aircraft. Armenia, Kazakhstan, Indonesia, Mexico. Countries lined up to buy Russia's aviation renaissance. The international cooperation model appeared vindicated. The Trojan horse had been wheeled inside the gates. Russia's aviation future now depended entirely on the goodwill of nations that weren't always friends. Chapter 4. Cracks in the Foundation. Cracks in the foundation appeared before the Mount Salak disaster. Warning signs systematically ignored or buried. The Superjet's operational reality was diverging catastrophically from Moscow's triumphant narrative. Airlines began reporting disturbing patterns. Aircraft grounded for weeks awaiting spare parts from Europe. Maintenance intervals far shorter than promised. Reliability rates nowhere near Western competitors. Aeroflot, Russia's own flagship carrier, was experiencing dispatch reliability of just 75%. For context, Boeing and Airbus routinely achieved 99%. Then came the incidents. A landing gear collapse in Reykjavik, engine failures during critical flight phases, hydraulic system malfunctions, emergency landings. Each incident triggered investigations that revealed the same underlying problem: integration issues between Russian airframe and Western systems. The components worked individually. Together, they created unpredictable failures. But here's what investigators discovered. Sukhoi's quality control was Soviet-era, inadequate for modern aviation standards. Manufacturing tolerances varied wildly between aircraft. Documentation was incomplete. Software updates required coordination across multiple countries and time zones. The international supply chain that seemed like strength was actually introducing catastrophic complexity. The Mount Salak crash in 2012 should have triggered complete program reassessment. Instead, Moscow doubled down. Blame fell on pilot error, those disabled warnings. Sukhoi's official response: the aircraft performed flawlessly. The investigation quietly noted terrain awareness system inadequacies, but the narrative remained intact. Orders continued. Production ramped up. By 2014, over 100 Superjets were in service. Airlines were complaining privately while Moscow celebrated publicly. The cracks were spreading. The foundation was crumbling. But the real earthquake, the one that would shatter everything, was still coming. And it wouldn't come from engineering failures. It would come from politics. Chapter 5. The House of Cards. The House of Cards collapsed with a single geopolitical wind gust. March 2014. Russia annexed Crimea. Western sanctions arrived like a guillotine blade. Swift, decisive, catastrophic. The European Union and United States banned export of aviation components to Russian military manufacturers. Sukhoi, despite producing a civilian aircraft, was classified as a defense contractor. Overnight, the supply chain strangled. Powerjet couldn't ship engines. Thales halted avionics deliveries. Honeywell, Messier Bugatti Doughty, Goodrich, Liebherr, every Western partner simultaneously cut ties. That 75% foreign component dependency became an execution sentence. Picture this: Superjets sitting incomplete on assembly lines in Komsomolsk-on-Amur, waiting for parts that would never arrive. Airlines grounding aircraft because replacement components were sanctioned. Maintenance schedules extending from weeks to months. The program didn't just slow, it suffocated. Moscow scrambled for solutions. Import substitution became the desperate mantra. Russian engineers would reverse engineer Western systems, develop domestic alternatives, break the dependency. The Kremlin poured billions into the effort. But here's the brutal reality: aviation technology doesn't materialize through political decree. Those Western components represented decades of specialized development, certification processes, supply chain ecosystems. Russia was trying to replicate in months what had taken competitors generations. By 2022, when full-scale sanctions arrived, after Ukraine's invasion, the Superjet was already a zombie program, technically alive, functionally dead. Production dropped to single digits annually. International orders evaporated completely. Airlines began retiring Superjets early rather than struggle with unsupportable maintenance requirements. The aircraft built to challenge Boeing couldn't even sustain operations. Russia's aviation renaissance had become its most expensive humiliation. The house of cards hadn't just collapsed, it had disintegrated into dust. From ashes to ashes, the Superjet program returned to dust. Today, fewer than 30 aircraft remain operational worldwide. Production has essentially ceased. International customers have fled. The program that consumed $20 billion over 2 decades delivered nothing but wreckage and broken promises. The final numbers are devastating. Total production, approximately 220 aircraft. Still flying, barely 15%. Boeing produces more 737s in a single quarter than Russia built Superjets in 20 years. But here's the lesson carved in failure. Aviation dominance cannot be manufactured through political ambition alone. Boeing and Airbus didn't achieve their unshakable duopoly by accident. They built it through decades of technological investment, supply chain mastery, and ruthless quality control. Russia tried to shortcut that journey through Western partnerships, creating an aircraft that appeared competitive but concealed fatal dependencies beneath its skin. The Superjet was doomed from conception, not by engineering inadequacy, but by strategic delusion. Moscow built an aircraft that required Western cooperation to survive, then pursued policies guaranteeing that cooperation would end. The ghost plane that crashed into Mount Salak wasn't just Flight 9570, it was Russia's entire aviation dream, flying blind into terrain it never saw coming, warnings screaming, ignored until impact.